A pleasant good afternoon, good morning, good night, wherever you are, depending on your location. My name is Oscar Moba, and we're coming to you live from Painesville City, outside Liberia's capital, Monrovia. Today happens to be the sixth day in the month of July. The year remains 2024. I'd like to welcome you to this special documentary, and today's documentary is focusing on her honor, Associate Justice Designate Judge Chancellor Ceaineh Clinton Johnson. She's going to be telling us everything about herself, her childhood life, her education, her career path. And so I'd like to welcome you. So let's move over now to the Associate Justice Designate and say a pleasant good morning to you, ma'am.
Good morning, Oscar.
Well, so how are you this morning?
I'm doing okay.
It's an honor seated with you, and let me say congratulations to you for your preferment by the President, His Excellency Joseph Yuman Boyka, to serve as Associate Justice of the Supreme Court of Liberia. Congratulations.
Thank
you. Okay, ma'am. So let's begin by having you tell us about the name Ceaineh Clinton Johnson, especially your family background and your childhood life. Who is Ceaineh Clinton Johnson?
Okay, let me first start by my name, Ceaineh. The meaning of my name is a successful journey. I'm named Ceaineh because my father traveled to Bon County to do a piece of assignment for the Lutheran Church. And there he met my mother in Totota, and I was begotten. So my father's family said, well, our son's joining has been successful. Because the joining was successful and I was the first child, by that child, I became a special childhood between the two families. Everybody wanted, you see, I got different names. The D, my name comes from my mother's side.
Okay.
And my Ceaineh comes from my father's side. And everybody wanted this child, this special child, my father's first child, my mother's first daughter. And so I grew up amidst love from both sides of my families. And I spent the first growing years of my life with my mother in Bon County. When my father felt it was time for me to start an educational sojourn, he asked my mother's family, the Toto family, to please allow him to educate his daughter. And so because President Totman had removed my father from Totota and sent him to work to Lofa, I moved to Lofa when my father was appointed district educational officer to start education. I started, when we got to Lofa, those days you had to test, nobody knew anybody the exact age, so you had to test with your arm. 1966,
wow.
My right hand could not reach my left ear.
Okay.
My right hand could not reach my left ear, so I was not qualified to start first grade. So I spent the whole 1966 learning English, learning ABC, and because my father was an educator, I spent my kindergarten years, they call kindergarten, in my father's house learning. And then I started school in 1967, first grade in 1967 in Zorsal Town. That pursuit took me to 1972, where the last sixth graders who did government exam and then they cut it off. Okay. When I graduated from sixth grade...
How old were you?
I was 12.
12 years.
We were 113 years. Okay. When I graduated, my father decided it was time for me to go to boarding school to learn some level of independent life. So I was sent to LTI. When I graduated LTI in 1978, I moved back to Bon County to my mother's people. I went to Cottonton. At that time, my uncle Moses Toto was head of the police there in Banga. My uncle Edward Toto, who basically acted like the male future from my mother's side of the family, insisted that my education be done in Bon County. Even though I wanted to go to LU, they said no, I should do a Cottonton study, so I went to Cottonton. And when I graduated in 1982, I moved on to Monrovia on a rebellious note.
Oh, wow.
Because my uncle had found me a job with BCATP My father had phoned me a job with the agricultural bank in Vonjama. And I said, at that point you're having friends and people are talking. Then I said, no, but I don't want to live in Bong. I don't want to live in Lofa.
You want to come to town?
I wanted to come to town. And I was redeemed by my aunt. Because I came to town, those days when you were matriculated into college in the October administration, you already knew where you worked because they had career day. I had been tapped to work with LPMC. Okay. So that was a job I wanted. And then I come to Monrovia now. I say I want vacation before I start work. I was telling myself by the time I can find work in Monrovia, my uncle or my pa will not have no control. And so I go to LPMC on this day to remind them that I've just graduated college and I have been promised a position in LPMC. And I meet my uncle's wife, the late Henrietta Ceaineh, on Broad Street. And she demands me to get into her car. You graduated, I have not seen you get in the car. I got in the car obediently. At that time, she was Deputy Minister of Finance. We drove to finance. Oscar, you will not believe this. We drove to finance, and just as we enter her office, she sends for the personnel director. Y'all coming with her Docker. With her Docker come say, she's going to work as a supervisor in the newly established National Identification Card Division. So please make her employment paper and everything.
Just like that.
I'm like, no, I'm not going to work here. She's just joking. I'm going to leave. Yeah. So I'm sitting there and what these people think they will control my life? And that decision made by that woman today has led me today that I can proudly say that I'm a lawyer.
Okay, we'll get to that, your honor. But coming back to your childhood, what do you remember the most of your childhood growing up as a child?
I remember being very pampered as a person. I remember being overly protected. And I always say that to people, I grew up in a very overly protected family. Those days, it was not like you see today, you see children in the street. No. If we had to go anywhere, even when we became teenagers, our brothers had to escort us. And if a boy wanted to date you, he had to write a letter.
Write a letter?
Oh, yeah. You don't just come to somebody who say,
to you or to your
parents? You had to write a letter, say, please permit me to visit.
Wow.
Yeah, boys had to write a letter to say, please permit me to visit. And my childhood was spent, I found a lot of pleasure in sporting activities. Okay. And so, elementary school, junior and senior high school, I played sports. I played active basketball.
Basketball?
Yes. Okay. Because when I come from LT, I had to play Banga Methodist. I was on the kickball team, very good at kickball. And standing outside, kids are talking, and then I say to my friend, we'll beat you in basketball. So the man asked me, you on the basketball team? I said, yes, I'm on the basketball team because I have played so well on the kickball team. And the pastor at that time, we had a pastor named Pastor Bowles. Pastor Bowles said, really? I just heard behind me, really? When we got on the bus, he said, well, you told the people you play basketball tomorrow morning. Yeah. I should see you on the basketball court. On the court, yeah. And so I got on to playing basketball. I'm telling you this because everything in my life, when I started, I took it with a special passion. If I don't like it, I'm not going to do it. But if I say I'm going to do it, I take it with a special passion.
As a child growing up, I remember myself graduating from kindergarten. Mm-hmm. And then I said to those who had gone there that when I grow up, I want to be a vice president for Liberia. So normally children will make, they will say what they want to become in the future. What did you remember saying as a child graduating?
I wanted to be a medical doctor.
You wanted to be a medical doctor?
Yes.
Here you say today you are a lawyer.
Yes. I wanted to be a medical doctor so badly. Okay. But that changed. I had graduated high school and enrolled at Cottington. I was doing biology. Okay. And this day I was in the lab operating on a frog. I had a very good friend. He worked with the Phoebe Hospital. He came to visit. And he asked the puppy, and said, Bookworm? She's in the laboratory.
That's how they used to call you.
Yeah,
your nickname.
Bookworm. You don't call me John or you call me Bookworm. So he came to the lab. He said, my dear sister, your friends are all here on this Saturday having fun. And you hear bend down like this on the frog operating. I say, yes. Our professor, Les Cashier or Cassier, I don't know the right name now, Les Cashier. Les Cashier will have their hands on Monday morning. I will be ready. He left. 5 minutes later, he was dead.
Uh-huh.
At that time, the doctors who work at Phoebe and my father had gone to school together. Dr. Ngana, Dr. Kwanangale, Dr. Ko, and all of them knew me and thought because they always said I was as brilliant as my father, they wanted me to be a medical doctor. So I was always in the hospital.
So you were inspired by that?
Yeah, no, besides me saying I want to be a medical doctor, by the time I could wish to finally make an attempt at becoming a doctor, my father's friends were the medical doctors in Phoebe Hospital. So Phoebe Hospital will open up to me. And then I run, when they said there was an accident, I run to Phoebe. We used to run from Cotton to Phoebe with our eyes closed. And I get there and found out that it's his friend. And I walk into the operating theater and they have him cover. And I asked Dr. Cole specifically, what are you people waiting for to operate? And Dr. Cole says, Ceaineh, we only try as God who makes the final decision.
Yeah.
And I walk out of that place telling myself, if we can just try and God the one can make the decision, then why am I going to be a medical doctor?
So you got discouraged at that point?
At that point, he sent for me later on because I told the other doctors that the Cole said that it's God who makes the final decision. Or then what is the use of doing medicine when in the end you have to depend on God to make the decision? And I remember specifically that the Guanangara telling me we are the ones to try. We are the ones who God use as instruments. And they fought for the rest of that year. Every day, everybody wanted to tutor me into, oh, don't change it. But I was determined at that point, I'm not going to do it. Then I started becoming afraid of hospital. I started becoming afraid of death. Because I was brave, I could walk majestically into the hospital. All of a sudden, a kind of fear grabbed me. Yeah. So I just said, I'm not going to force it. And guess what? I didn't tell my father I had changed my major.
Oh.
So the following year, when I took my grade sheets home, and he sees there, economics, there, he tell me, Nene, they made a mistake on your grade sheet. I'm like, no, Daddy, they didn't make a mistake, but I don't think I want to be a medical doctor anymore.
You had grown up by then and taking independent decisions.
At that time, I was 20 years old.
Okay.
I said, Daddy, I don't think I want to be. Then he said to me, it's good that you're making the decision at a very young age. Because many people go into careers and they reach in front and they realize that no, this is the wrong path. I just hope what you're going to do is something that is going to make you happy, that is going to keep you up at night wondering what you can do better the very next day. But I will not be part of forcing you to become a medical doctor because I want a medical doctor for daughter. And so I was set free to do the things I wanted to do in my life.
That's great. Now, Your Honor, let's move on to the transition from the desire of being a medical doctor to now a lawyer.
Yeah.
And today you have been designated by the president to serve as Associate Justice. Tell us about the motivation behind your career. How did you start nursing the desire to become a lawyer?
Well, as I said to you, when I came to work and I started working at finance, I developed a keen admiration for a female lawyer who was the boss of our department. Okay. She did things in very orderly manner. She was very straightforward. I mean, she was different.
What's the person?
Her name was Henrietta Ceaineh. Okay. She was Deputy Minister of Finance for Revenue.
A lawyer?
Yeah, she was a lawyer. Okay. And the way she carried herself, I started to look around in society to see the women. Don't forget now, I went to school in the interior. And I had finally come into life in the city. And so you're looking around for role models and what have you. In the interior where I grew up, the only role models we had to look for were the best wives, the best mothers, but in terms of career development at that time, women were not ready into career. So when I worked in her office, she led me into law school. When I worked in her office, I learned that you can change society by just being within the frame of the law. And so, there was an interesting thing that happened one day. I was in her office doing some work, and then she said to me, Ceaineh, why don't you go to school to do law? I don't know. She said, but I want you to do law. I said, okay, and I dismissed it. The next day, I worked with Rodney Chesson. She called in Rodney Chesson and said, I want you to please help this girl to apply to go to law school. Rodney came to the old man said, we should get ready to go to law school. I said, but I've not made up my mind yet. He said, I don't want my body to yell at me. Where your transcript and here? I said, I've not got any transcript.
Yeah.
The next morning, Rodney drove to Cottington and got my transcript. And he brought all the phone. Let's fill it up. Let's fill it up. The interesting thing was when we went to law school, we didn't have to do an exam.
Oh, wow.
So the committees look at all your credentials and selected you. The next thing I knew, my name was on the board. I was a freshman in law school. And so my career just picked up like that. Pick up. I just kept going more into the law, understanding the rights of people. And this woman was very, very particular about the rights of people. I've heard injustice so much that even if you were to lie to her, she would almost freeze her in your hand. And I admire her a lot. And so when she insisted that I went to law school, I got to law school and then found out that, yes, indeed, this is a place that I want to be. I want to help to change society. She will always ask me, you're going to walk through this life, eat, drink, sleep, and one day die and go, what will you tell God? What do you do for this society? So she encouraged me in the law. And then when I became a lawyer, then our war happened. Then I understood even in a better light the rights of people. If you can remember, we had different organizations creeping up after the war. Then I got involved in the issue of women's rights, coming from the native background that I have come from, that women, ladies were seen and not heard. That means, and all of that. And all of a sudden, we're now being encouraged to speak up. I started to speak out. I started to raise issues and all of that. So I found my niche among those women who were interested in that. Not necessarily saying that I'm a feminist, but just being very, very concerned about the rights of women and the protection they were entitled to. Because during the war, I found myself here in Liberia.
Your Honor, eventually you became a lawyer.
Yes.
Now, I want to know from you, what were some of the exciting moments in being a lawyer, during your years of being a lawyer, and what were some of the difficult moments that you've had, especially as a female within a male-dominated society?
Well, for a long time, I was always afraid of conflict. I was afraid of the news out there. My reputation was the most important thing to me. And so I ran away, literally, from public life. I was satisfied going to court and pleading the cases that I wanted. But when I started practicing law, something happened. Something happened for me in the courtroom. Because you go to law school, it's different from the practice. And I just decided that I was not going to take any injustice. At some point in time, they used to call me Margaret Thatcher of the courtroom because I feared nobody. And then I have this soft voice. I would say things to people and they would have to think twice, but I have said it. So in the early practice of the law, became that I was interested in defending people who could not afford the money to be defended the proper way before the law. And that's why I earned the title Margaret Thatcher of the courtroom, because the firm that I went to practice with, Philip J. Pronsky Law Chambers, he said to us when we graduated law school, not everybody you represent is going to pay you. He said, sometimes I represent some people, they pay me chicken. Sometimes I represent some people, they pay me goat. Now I got the people who pay me money and the people who pay me chicken. So it's not just about the money in the practice, it's about the change that you effect in society. So that became my driving force. How can we change society? How can we change society for the betterment of everybody? And that came all the way up to the war, as I said. And after the war, of course, when I went back into the practice of law. And the exciting moments in the law, every day is an exciting time in the law. But what I realize is that in the defense of the poor, the defense of the poor in this country still needs much attention. Because the law says we are equal before the law. It means equal representation. But if you are represented by So when you're not paying, sometimes I used to think that the people did not pay enough attention to the rights of the people who they represented because no money to represent them. So it became, that how come I went into this human rights spectrum. It became my passion. We're all not equal, but how can we be equal before the law? And then I started working, moving things out, representing people. So when the war came to a peacetime, I was part of I'm one of the organizing committee member of the Association of Female Lawyers. We decided we represent the women rights in this country. We organized the concerned women of Liberia to talk about the political rights of women, legal rights, political rights, all these different rights groups. Then we decide we include the children. So those were the moments in my life, and creating a foundation upon which to build my life to work for women and children, in our country, because I saw so much discrimination against women. So I can give you one particular place that I got so excited that it became a milestone. Every day was a new milestone for me. When we decided, for example, during the war, it was time for us to stop the war. We risked our lives and drove to Banga to meet Charles Taylor. And everybody was like, these girls are going crazy. But we said, well, they will have to kill us, but we had to meet him. Unfortunately for us, when we got to Banga, that was the day Bless Compared when his son died. So he had died overnight.
Is it the mass action women for peace?
Yes.
Okay.
But we didn't meet Charles Taylor. And I came back, I'm like, what are you looking for? I said, it's just my one life. If they take it, it's gone. But look at what's happening. Look at how many children, you walk in the street, children falling off and dying from malnutrition, no food. And the war was still just coming. So we just decided we'll take it by the horn and move in there and work. And that's what basically I did.
How have you navigated your way as a female within the legal profession in a male-dominated society?
I tell you, I don't see a male-dominated society. Because I don't see a male being better than me. I don't see a male-dominated. I see many male lawyers, but that doesn't mean it's male-dominated. It's just in terms of the numbers, because we are equally competent to go before the law and plead the rights of our client. Maybe like when we started AFED, they used to say we need to go cook for our husbands. So we took it out. Those were jobs. So I don't see a male-dominated.
You've not had any moments where some of your colleagues look at you and say, oh, you are female, so you should remain silent, you should.
Look at my face. You really think someone can just look at me and do that to me? Because here's what I have in my favor. Knowledge of the law. That is what I have in my favor. So when you tell me you're a woman, you should be telling me you're a woman who does not know the law. But you can't say you're a woman who knows the law, so get in front of me. No. So because of that, I don't see a male-dominated society. I see all of us fighting for the rights of the people that we believe in. And as I said, they got more male who are lawyers, but it's not male-dominated. The law is not in favor of male. In fact, if you really look at the law is in favor of female in this country. There are a lot of protection for women under the law. We just haven't been able to stand up and fight it.
That could be your breaking news. Can you repeat that? The law is protecting more females?
Yeah, we have rights for the protection of women in this country. Then men, it's just that it's like what someone said about the West and Africa. They make sure they keep us fighting so that we don't get the rights. Yeah, we got more rights. Women got more rights in this country than men.
I like that. So, you first served as an attorney at law. Yeah. Because once you graduate from the law school, you write the exam, you become an attorney at law, and then writing the Supreme Court by exam, you become a counselor at law. Mm-hmm. So all of these different areas. Mm-hmm. Let's talk about some of the areas that you serve, as a lawyer, and what have been some of the achievements that you could point to. Moving on to being a judge.
In the private sector, as I said, we're just managing cases. Okay. But when I was called to public service, my high lifetime in public service came when I worked as Deputy Attorney General under the early layer government. Okay. When the elections were over, one day I'm driving to town and my phone rings and there's someone at the end of the line saying the person I would like to see you. Who is the president of Liberia? I asked. Said, Madam Ellie Johnson Salim. I said, where she knows me from? Said, can you please come to the mansion? I thought about it. I was going shopping with my children. I said, this could be a prank call. Because the person who called me first did not call their name. After another 10, 20 minutes, somebody I know finally called me. Said, you have an appointment to meet the president. I don't know whether you are around here, but you have 10 minutes to be here.
Okay.
So I called my husband. I said, something is happening. Somebody called me and said the president wants to see me. I said, but go on. So I drove to the mansion with my kids in the car, guided everything. I was ushered in. And she said to me, I see that you are the Director General of the Intellectual Property Office of Liberia. How come do you come to this? I said, well, in the practice of law, I practice a lot of property rights issue, intellectual property rights issues. So when the government was being established, recommendations came on the floor that the person who knew about intellectual property law in Liberia, because I have practiced it extensively, Charles Bromsky insisted that they make me Director General. She said, but I have received a lot of recommendations that you're a very brilliant girl and I'm looking for educated women to work in my government. No, my person and my kids are young. And she said, well, my kids were young. I fought for this country. What future do you want for your children? You want to sit at home and other people bear the blunt and you come and enjoy it? Go and think about it. And the minute I left for president, I started to pray against it.
Oh, you pray against it?
I pray against it. I said, Lord, don't let, just as I left for president, the whole forget about me.
Wow.
So she.
But why were you doing that, Your Honor?
I didn't want to work in government. I told you the first thing I had was the protection of my name. That was my whole thing, my name, my name, my name. She went to Tunisia. She came back one afternoon. I'm in my guiding again, trying to plan. When I heard the announcement that Senator Clinton Johnson had been appointed Deputy Minister of Justice for Administration and Public Safety, I said, this woman is stupid. I don't want this job. Why would she appoint me? But anyway, I went running out to my uncle to see so. My uncle said to me, your father said the best service you can give is service to your nation. So don't run away. And I started working. When I started to work, then I learned that my reputation was nothing. Then nobody can say anything they want to say. Because each time we complain, everything will just shut me down. You know what they say about me? The things you've heard about me, do you know them to be true? Have you seen any evidence of me being who they say I am? In the end, they will tell you thank you when the result is good. So forget about it.
She used to say those words to you.
They say you thank Deputy Minister for Administration and Public Safety after the war, and now we're going towards peace, the streets, all kinds of things taking place. So I started to work there and become brave. Then the highlight came when the whole issue of gender and violence against women, and because of what I had been involved with, AFL or Concerned Women of Liberia, I became a gender-focused person under the pillow. And that took me to a lot of meetings. Then our development partners had to complain that rape was not being prosecuted. They just treated it as any kind of ordinary crime and what have you. So one day in cabinet, she asked me to look into it because my boss was not here. She asked me to look into it. And I did a very extensive investigation in Monserrado. And I found out that all of the rape cases were lined in the ministerial court in the different circuit courts. Nobody was paying attention. So I reported to her. She said that we're going to have to establish a court that deals specifically with it. And we have that, we can make that possibility. I said yes. So the rape court, she picked up it and they went on with it. But at that time, I was still working in setting up the structures. When they established a rape court, she called me one day and said, what can we do now that the court has been established? I said, I think that we should have a special prosecutor. And so I just became a synonym for rape in the administration of Ellen's government. So I set up the special prosecution unit, put these guidelines and everything together. So then now one day after we had appointed a special prosecutor, because I gave the special prosecutors authority, teeth to bite. so that the county attorney would not in any way, meddle with rape cases. And they had made a law in that way. When she called me into the mansion to say, Ceaineh, I've looked everywhere, and everybody I asked for recommendation for who to make the judge of this court. Only your name is coming. I said, oh, so I did wrong by fighting for this. Who will come to this? She's so happy. I said, I don't want to be a judge. I don't want to be a judge. I'm an advocate. Judgeship is your lockup. You can't say, you can't do. And I'm a say and do person. She said, okay. I want you to go ahead and get it established. And then anything you want, I will give it to you. Anyway, since was that kind of person in administration, anything you want, I give to you, but go set up the court. And so I spent 1 year at the court. I set up the court because when she asked me anything you want, I said I can answer now. She said yes. I said I want to go to graduate school.
Okay.
She said you go to graduate school. And quite frankly, I didn't believe her. I'm like, I commit myself to go and become a judge. And if she doesn't live up to her word, well, then what do? I just be stuck here. But exactly after
She was Madam President, so you couldn't do anything to her.
After 1 year, I was on my way to graduate school. So you see, then rape became the prosecution, the adjudication of rape, and the handling of victims became now my passion. Even in graduate school, I did a lot of studies, a lot of research on how we can make the code better. So before becoming a judge or even before reaching here, those are basically what I've been involved with. Looking at society, trying to see how people can see the effect of rape on people. I said that I raped for 10 years, and for 10 years, society fought me. For 10 years, society fought me until I asked the Chief Justice, maybe all of this was my idea, and the ideas that I put together is not working. You need somebody else to come in and let's reevaluate. Or maybe we put too much passion in it because the attention, the kind of results we expect out of this law is not coming true. In fact, rape is on the increase. So maybe something we did in the formation of the law that we did not address certain things, we need to revisit it. But at that point, I couldn't be part of it no longer because you can't be judge and jury. Yeah, so there where they are.
How many years, if you were to add a figure to it, how many years have you spent within the legal profession?
Wow. From 1987 to now?
1987.
Yes.
1987, you will not imagine by then. 1987 to 2024. Your Honor, we will shortly conclude this documentary, but let's talk about your education. At this point in time, a lot of people want to know who is Madam Ceaineh Clinton Johnson with respect to her education. So let's talk about your education. What are some of the things you can point to as, achievement within your own educational sojourn?
Well, after coming back from graduate school, I did a master's degree in law from the University of Pennsylvania.
Okay. But first, you have a BSc degree.
From Cottonton University College.
Okay.
Then I went to Louis
in biology?
In economics. I told you I changed my major.
Okay, in economics.
Yeah. Then I went on to the law school. At the law school here, Louis Arthur Grand School of Law, is general law. Okay, it's like the medical school is also general. When you graduate, then you go to specialize. Yeah. And so I went to the University of Pennsylvania and did a master's degree in human rights law. When I came back at the University of Pennsylvania, there was a discovery because I was part of a student program where we're in a public interest booth. Because I was a scholarship student, I had to work for the public. And then I realized in my studies there that conflicts was the hallmark of the law. So when I came back, I decided to enter the Kofi Annan Institute of Conflict Transformation to understand conflict. Okay. So I did 2 years there. I stopped. I would have been now 3 years, I'm a graduate coach.
Because I'm going to ask you now whether you graduated from there. Remember, I'm there now, so.
2 years I was there, but when the Chief Justice made a decision to start to assign me outside Monrovia, I don't like to do things hastily. Okay. So once the Chief Justice would now send me to work outside Monrovia, I had to leave that, joining, because in fact one of the professors there told me you shouldn't be coming to school here, you should be teaching here, but I had to leave the 2 years I was getting into my senior year, then I had to leave it and go on to work other Monrovia, which I have done for the past maybe 5 years. I've been in and out. The last 2 years, basically, I work all the time. I didn't work in Monrovia. So that's the extent of the specialized education, besides going on seminars, being trained in special areas of the law as a judge. One time when they had the sanction pronounced, the American ambassador probably announced that they had just sent judges for training on corruption.
You were part of it.
I was part of that training in Ghana. There have been specialized trainings that we've gone through from our different development partner. I went to Egypt on cross-border violation of rights. And usually when it comes to the issue of rights, is the Judge Johnson like Morel. But the one that was very refounding for me was when we went to talk about the rights of women in a conflict-prone area, and we had to go to Egypt. Every day you sit here, you think the world is fair until you get outside of here. And I came by and I said to my children, I said, we are blessed and we need to count our blessings. Every day we need to count it. Because when I went down to Kenya, we were meeting as female stakeholders of violence against women. And I had come out of there with a very beautiful thought, because when I presented our rape code system, all of Africa said they wanted to come to visit us. Just as you saw me bring the International Association of Trial Judges here,
That's your brainchild?
I was excited when I explained in Kenya about the rape code. Besides South Africa, we tried to pattern ours after South Africa. We created a hybrid. And I explained to them at that conference when we were about it. I didn't say we'll hold the next meeting here to look at rape and its adjudication. So my life has been centering around all this issue of rights, and pinpointing any particular moment was that when we went down to Egypt. All of this training, and I'm sitting now in Egypt, and I'm seeing religion still being used as a basis of rights. And I came and said, indeed, we are blessed and we need to work more on, moving forward instead of complaining. But that's what we do in this country.
We need to work more moving forward instead of complaining. The second to the last point, Your Honor, the biggest one, you've been preferred by His Excellency the President to sit on the country's Supreme Court's bench. And this is, I don't know how you see it. I don't know how you feel about it. And now I'm posing this question to you. What feelings does it come with, having heard that you've been preferred by the president to sit on the country's Supreme Court's bench as an associate justice? Let's talk about your feelings. How do you feel right now?
All lawyers, it's the height to which we can rise. All lawyers, that is the highest honor that can be bestowed upon you, to serve on that bench. No lawyer will tell you, say, me, I don't want to ever serve on the Supreme Court bench. No. The only thing that they see that there's no possibility of them getting there. So on my preferment, I was called 2 weeks ago. President had wanted to see me, and I went in and he asked me a very interesting question. He said to me, I'm offering you a position on the bench. Do you want it? And I said to him, Mr. President, that is every lawyer's dream. He said, that's not a question I ask you. Do you want it? Yeah. Do you know where it comes from? I said, of course. I've been a judge for 16 years. I know where it comes from. He said, do you want it? I said, if you prefer that I serve our country at this, it'd be an honor. He said, you still have to answer me. Please tell me whether you want this job. And I looked at him square in the face. I said, yes, I want it because I want to serve my country. I feel that I can contribute. Being a circuit judge, you are not in a decision-making bracket of the judiciary. So if you see anything that is going wrong, you have to be trying to win people over to your idea. But serving Liberia at that level, I get to bring my own ideas into the fold for discussion among my colleagues if I'm confirmed to work there. So
And that brings the question: what other values you think your presence on the country's Supreme Court's bench is going to add to the justice system or the judiciary of our country?
I think because I have served in almost every aspect of the law. I've been a prosecutor, I've been a defense attorney, I've been a judge, I've been part of the creation of laws and all of that. I think that puts me in a position that I can have a round thought on the contemporary issues that are facing our nation and not be afraid, because I've expressed my opinion in a lot of matters in this country. But when you're a judge, your opinions are seen in your decision. So it's difficult. We can't get advisory opinions. We can't raise issues. So for 16 years, I've been silenced. I'm happy when confirmed that now I can be able to tell the Liberian people. I had an interview on citizenship in this country.
Yeah.
I had to get permission to just explain what was happening. That's how shut in the judiciary is. But there, sitting on the Supreme Court bench, when confirmed, I can now be part of the decision making. We can now start to discuss the dialogue that's supposed to be taking place between the branches of government, because that Supreme Court is responsible for that dialogue. This is separate, distinct, but coordinated, working in harmony. So in that harmony, I believe that what I think about the law and its development can be made manifest. That's what I think I bring.
Your ascendancy to that position gives hope to a lot of women, whether women in the legal profession, women outside the legal profession. What advice, given your own life story, how you've been able to persevere, what advice can you give to young women in Liberia?
Strive above all things to do the right thing. Nothing is more than that in our profession, to do the right thing. You see, our profession is governed by laws. Other areas by emotions, but we are by law. And if you see the law bright like this, you say it's dark, then something is wrong. I have tried my entire sojourn to do the right thing. When I got nominated, people were like, well, we have not heard anything bad. But I said, because I'm not doing anything bad. I have just tried to use the law as my guide, because that's the profession I choose. And the law is my guide in doing everything. To tell people that once you're doing the right thing, you will be held responsible in negative ways for it. But at the end of the day,
I like that.
you know that you've done your best. And that decision was based on law and not based on anything else. When I was at a Grateful, there was a particular case that came out. Every newspaper reported something on me in this country. And I just said to myself, fear nothing but to do wrong. And I'm going to make the decision based on the details of my conscience. I answer to God and not to man. So that would be my advice to any young woman. I'm not young, but to any woman who wants to pursue law, to know that there will be feedbacks, but be ready for the feedbacks. They will castigate you. They will say things about you. But you should fight to make sure that what they're saying has no iota of truth in it. That is the advice I would give from a woman.
Finally, we will move to social issue, and I will not let you off the hook by not asking you. And I know I would not be held in contempt, but let's move to some social issues. Tell us about maybe your hobbies and your family life, especially a mother, a wife, an educated person, an associate justice. How are you managing all of these things?
Well, let me first start to tell you about my habits. One of the founding habits of mine is farming. From my paternal side and from my maternal side, my grandmothers were head wives to chiefs. And so the feeding of the family fell upon them. And so that part of the Bible that talks about the virtuous woman in Proverbs, I grew up being socialized into the details of that. Your responsibility to take care of your family. A lot of our modern women are not very okoron, or they don't want to take it into consideration their responsibility towards their family. I take that seriously. I take the maintenance of my family life very, very important to me.
That means you don't mind your status, you don't mind your education, nothing like that.
I would share a joke with you. One day, some of my friends came to visit, and they saw me hanging up my husband's underclothes. And one of them said, "No, Ceaineh, that's not true." And I'm like, "What are you talking about? He washes me underclothes." I said, "Well, before I used to wash it, now I'm older, but I just make sure that, the washman washes it clean, so I check to make sure it's properly clean." Say, "Seriously, nobody did me first." I said, "But that's the only way I know how. My being a lawyer has nothing to be connected to me being a wife. It has nothing to be being a mother. Lord, I want to make money off her. My first role as a woman, God has blessed me, because to have children is a blessing from God. He gave me a husband. He gave me children. Those 3 points of my life very important to me. I will fight that they shouldn't collide with each other, but they are important. That's why I like food production. I should always feed my family. If you read about it, they say that woman came into the case and she was considered blessed. So today, sometimes when I look at my life, I say maybe I live by the details of God. And these are just the blessings I'm reaping, that the whole country can look at me and say, "But we don't know anything about this woman." Because I have a private life and I have a public life. My private life is with my husband and my children and my family. I come from a huge family. I got so many brothers and sisters. I got so many cousins and uncles and aunts from both sides of my family. And those interactions to them very important. Now, if you come up to my social life, at the very beginning, I left law school. I became a counselor at law. My husband was still in law school as a student. I tell people that my husband, from the traditional point of view, is the head of this home. But in my profession, I'm the head of my profession. So
like
there's no mixing between that. If you ask my husband, they will tell you, when my wife starts to discuss an issue or she's handling a matter, and by the time I see it, you say, "No, you are crossing the boundary." Because this is strictly me answering to God. Let me handle it. So we know that it's accepted between us that don't cross the line to my professional life. If you're talking about home life, our children, yes, I'm your wife. That's something I accepted many years ago, about 34 years ago, to be your wife. So it's something I want to do until I reach my Creator God. But no, my social life is that limited, and I don't like too many interferences into it. Okay. The public is not really involved in my social. If you go to check around here, people can ask whether I'm in town, because I didn't grow up. I told you before you went, you had to be escorted. Mm-hmm. My husband will not want to escort me to the places other women go. So I'm home. Because just as you see him, that's who he is. He's not, his family life is also very special.
So if you are not gardening or with the family, what else are you doing?
Or cooking, that's my favorite habit. I cook.
Cooking.
I cook a lot.
Yeah.
I cook for everybody.
What's the best soup?
Oh no, that's not the right question to ask. Because since I married this Loma man 30-something years ago, I can cook any kind of tteokbokki.
Okay.
Any kind of tteokbokki you can think about. One day, we had a tteokbokki fest here, and some of his brothers came to eat, and one of them tasted. He said, "I didn't know that any soup you can turn to tteokbokki." So he meets me in the supermarket, he asked me, "Sister Johnson, yeah, that pepper tteokbokki you cook, can you cook some for me?" I said, "Sure." So I come home and I tell my husband That best friend is so friendly. You're in the supermarket, you want me to cook pepper to bring for him. My husband did not say anything. He kept quiet. The next morning, he got up to I went to town. I went to the man's office. In case you don't know, my wife is a judge. She's not your cook. If you ever try again, I will take you to court. So I didn't know anything about it. So I meet the man the other time and say, you know, saying you're married to a Christian man. I said, what do you mean by that? He said, your husband is extremely protective over you. The man said, if I ask you to cook for him again, I said, don't mind, I can cook for everybody. So he just thought that maybe if he wanted me to cook for him, he should go and ice him instead of icing me, because he didn't want no conversation between a wife and another man. He started laughing. He said, you know your husband so well. But I share this joke with you to tell you that a lot of time that protection of the family is not there. That's why we have so many children in the street. That fundamental foundation and the environment, it's not there to nurture our children in the right way to go. And we're paying too much attention to the worldly things instead of the family unit. That is one of the challenges we have here in Liberia. The mother works, the father works. By the time they get home, everybody tired, the children on their own.
What's your favorite music? Do you have any?
I don't have any favorite music, but the music I like to listen to is country western. I listen to a lot of country western music. When I was in school, they said that the Holy Ghost guys used to like the country western music. So, and that why I listened to all from Covington, because LTI wouldn't have that possibility. No music at the end of the day. But by the time I got to college, I listened to a lot of country western music, and I still do today.
Do you still find some time to go to the gym and see people play basketball?
No. That the gym I go to now is exercise.
Okay.
Because all the people I play basketball with, and I played basketball well in this country, we're all old now. I don't see anybody. I enter the exercise gym, and I'm looking around, and these little girls, I see two little girls. I say, well, what's happening? I was in Holland some years back when the Queen said every woman, regardless of your age, get up and go to the gym. And sometimes I wish they could do that in this country to make us healthy. I really, really hope that they could do that. Part of our requirement of being healthy, go to the gym. Find gym for mature people. Find things for mature people to, exercise and bring their bodies up. But to go play sports again in the gym, the children will be scared of me.
Maybe to see the younger ones play and inspire them. That was your game.
Yeah, that was my game. But, there's a lot of disrespect in this society now. The young children, when they come in to talk to you, they don't even measure it. So you're right. Maybe I could do that, but do I have the time? When you sit all day long hearing cases, and you're coming home to a family. I'm just starting a new generation of my family. My oldest daughter passed and left a child, and so I have a grandson that I'm raising. He stays to the gate waiting for me to please come home. So, yeah.
Finally, is there any final message to Liberians as you move on and take your seat as an associate justice?
Well, as an associate designate now.
You're going to be confirmed, so.
My final message is that we're still very, very divisive in this country. We're still very, very ethnic. It's not helping us. Work in government has more to do with a passion for service to people and to humanity than it has to do with yourself. I say that because I am a judge. I have a job until I'm 70. Okay? Appointed to the bench on that, for me, it was not a matter of a job. I was not looking for a job. I'm a judge. I'll be a judge until I'm 70. But to say that we have become so divisive in this country that is affecting our nation's growth. And nobody's going to develop Liberia besides us. Every day here, people say the judiciary is corrupt. How you know that, Ice? That means you have taken a bribe to a judge before. And I'm assured that nobody's going to bribe a judge and say, come, let's go. I want you to be there as my witness. I'm going to bribe the judge. So I always say, what if the Liberians themselves were to give us that dignity? Don't abuse me. Don't tempt me. If the Liberians were to make that decision, that they hold us to that level of integrity, that even to decide or to think that you can bribe a judge, you should be afraid what the judge would think. I have been a judge from 2008 until now. And I tell my colleagues, nobody can tell you there myself here that the change part. Nobody. I challenge anybody in the Republic of Liberia. In fact, they are afraid of me. Some lawyers are afraid of me because of that. I asked for no send to assign cases when I'm presiding over court. In fact, the lawyers get afraid when I get there because I'm going to assign the case whether you come or not, because that's part of the rules. I want you to imagine that we work in a sphere that is considered the last hope for mankind on earth. And I usually tell people, do not corrupt it. Leave it to our consciences. Because you see, we have a three-tiered legal system. If you fear the magisterial court, the circuit courts are there. If you fear the circuit court, the Supreme Court is going to be, 5 persons going to be looking at the decision one circuit judge made. You still have an opportunity. Because if, for example, if you see that the way around it, we know the corrupt people are going to try to corrupt the judiciary. Okay, we know that. But fight not to be part of it. It's not just a fight of judges, it's a fight of the whole country. Because this is a way that we can assure our people that when there are disputes, when there are conflicts, there's a sphere that you can go into and justice will be done. That is why I like for people to look at the judiciary as. Open Court in Kakata, I told them the judiciary is the most powerful institution of government. And the superintendent was sitting there looking at my face. I said, yes, we are more powerful than the executive. I said, you know what makes us powerful? He said, no. I said, we don't deal with emotions. Emotions can fail you. The law is written. The letter of the law is there. And so because everything we do is done by law, we become power. Our power is in the law. So when we're doing things, we're fearless. For me, when I'm making decisions, I just need to pray. I pray in every case that I'm going to handle God and build me with wisdom. Let me deliver your justice. In effect, we're working for God. Let me deliver your justice here. Let me see the truth here. Let me make the right decision here. Don't let me take somebody's rights from them. Show me in the direction I will go so that it's a fair judgment that I give at the end of the day. That's what I look forward to.
And so I would like to bring this documentary to an end. Thanks for following. My name is Oscar Moba. Thanks to Sam Pontiajedo, who has been behind the camera.